Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council and declare the meeting open. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Council's governance rules. It's important that members of the public present in the gallery respect the setting and do not disrupt the meeting, particularly during debate and discussion by councillors on items in the agenda. We will commence our meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer, or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you, everyone. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We have no apologies for tonight, but we do note that Councillor Roberts is joining us online virtually. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Can I please have a mover and seconder for the following? That Council confirm the minutes of the following meetings. 1, the Council meeting on the 16th of December 2024, and 2, Town Planning Committee meeting 3rd of Feb 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lana Pomeroy. And a seconder, Councillor Colin Ross. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations or conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's agenda? I believe the CEO, you have one?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And what's that in relation to?
In relation to the item regarding my performance review.
Thank you. And we note that's in confidential business, that we note that conflict. Are there any other conflicts of interest relating to tonight's agenda? I see none. Thank you, councillors. All right, we'll go into item number 6, which is community questions. So there are 5 questions we received from community members this month. The first question was more of a thank you than a question from Alison Haddock, and we acknowledge her feedback. So thank you, Alison. The next question is from Tracy Bowe. Is Tracy here? Thank you, Tracy. Your question will be read and answered by Peter Benezik, the General Manager of Infrastructure and Environment. Cheers.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Tracy. I'll read it as follows. As reported back in August 2024 minutes of the meeting regarding the construction of Huxtable Road, a designer has been engaged and council were awaiting environmental impacts by late October. Can council please report as to whether this was achieved and what action is being taken, and when residents of Pakenham Upper expect this road to be sealed? Are these reports available to residents? And the second part to the question is, over the past 12 months, whoever the contractor council has been using to grade and lay gravel on Huxtable Road has done a poor job of maintaining the road to a suitable finish, to the point where within the space of 2 days, it's back to full of corrugations and with an extreme camber which pushes your vehicle to the edges of the roadway, especially when travelling in a northerly direction from Pakenham Road up past the Pony Club turnoff. He puts on such a small amount of gravel on the road that it's especially pushed to one side of the road after only a few cars have travelled through, and you are back to the corrugated road base. Thanks for your question. I certainly can report that the environmental work has occurred. That'll be presented to council with a report when the tender processes and assessments have been completed. In regards to the maintenance, I'll certainly pass that information on to our maintenance teams for consideration and change of practice. I can confer that it's expected that the Huxtable Road project will commence in November and continue through into the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Our next 2 questions are from Paul McMurray. Is Paul here? Thank you, Paul. Your questions will also be read and answered by Peter Benezik. Thank you, Peter.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Paul. I'll read the summary as follows. In 2020, Council announced the works for Huxtable Road and numerous other roads and declared that they'd be completed by 2022. In the 3 years following, we saw little more than notes about design that took 3 years to complete. And even then would still need changes anyway because they didn't take into account the environmental impacts. We saw scheduling shift from completion in 2024 to starting in 2024, and then pushing the start back into 2024 and 2025. My questions are, is the current council willing to continue to accept progress updates that provide no real updates or details of progress made? If not, why not? Question 2, is the current council prepared to hold the relevant departments of Cardinia Council accountable for delivering and meeting genuine targets and deadlines? If so, how? And if not, why not? Question 3, is any of the current members of council prepared to move and endorse a motion that council projects should be managed in application with proper project management principles, in particular that each project should have a clearly stated goals, targets and milestones, and in that the interest of transparency, these measure points should be publicly reported in the major projects report with any reason for slippage, justified with detailed document explanation. Thank you for the question. Following the feedback from councillors regarding the previous report, there's been a process to undertake a review of our capital work report, which will be provided to councillors in the March meeting. This will include detailed reporting mechanisms, improved updates and timeframes, and finances that will be reported. Council projects are conducted under a project management principles set within Cardinia's project management framework, which aligns to key milestones, financial, project status, and reporting on a monthly basis. Question 3 from Mr. McMurray. This set of questions is separate to my other set questions lodged in relation to sealing Huxtable Road. These questions relate to the quality of ongoing maintenance of Huxtable Road. It seems that repairs of late do not last long as they used to. Usually within weeks of repairs, the corrugations return. The severity of the corrugations is a significant safety issue for drivers. Cars lose traction even at low speeds. Cars often veer onto the wrong side of the road trying to find the smoothest path. It is only a matter of time until an accident occurs. Surely Cardinia does not want to be liable for any damage, injury or worst case, a road death because it does not adequately maintain the roads. It appears that when the works are done that the corrugations are not dug out into anymore. It appears that the top of the gravel is deposited and then graded. My question in relation to the repairs and maintenance of Huxtable Road are, what is the process used to repair unsealed roads? The road management plan documents the principles and methodology to deliver on the defined levels of service that council must provide in managing the local road network. Question 2, what has changed and why? Huxtable Road continues to be inspected proactively. The unsealed section of Huxtable Road is classified as a local minor collector road, which requires inspection at least every 12 months. The maintenance team is inspecting it at least every 2 weeks over the last year. Grading has occurred monthly. What are the measures applied to trigger if the road needs a repair? E.g., is there a depth of corrugation that triggers a repair? Is a minimum percentage of overall road damage required? The response to that is the intervention levels are specified in the road management plan. A link to this can be documented. Document will be provided in the minutes. Question 4, how often is Huxtable Road inspected? The unsealed section of Huxtable Road must be inspected every 12 months. Currently, the team's inspected every 2 weeks. Question 5. What records are maintained in relation to the inspections? What details are recorded? And the response to that is inspections occur in line with the timeframe specified in the road management plan and are recorded and completed even if no defects are present. When the defects are recorded, these are noted and works are scheduled to be completed within the timeframes specified by the plan. Question 6. What can be done to improve the standards of unsealed road maintenance to improve longevity and safety? In line with the resolution of Council in 2024, the Civil Maintenance Team is undertaking a review of the maintenance strategy for unsealed roads. This process includes an analysis of the current maintenance practices across the entire Shire and different topographical regions to help inform the future maintenance strategies.
Thank you. Our next question is from Dev Danda. Is Dev here? I don't see anyone identifying as Dev in the gallery, so your question will be responded to in writing. And our last question is from Angela Lacey. Is Angela here? No, I see no Angela, so your question will be responded to in writing. Thank you, Peter, for your contribution. All right, into ordinary business, agenda item number 7.2.1, advocacy update and grant opportunities. The officer recommendation is that Council 1 endorse the initiatives as listed in the agenda to be promoted as key priorities in the federal election campaign 2025. 2, endorse the projects as listed in the agenda to be put forward for the Growing Suburbs Fund 2025. 3, endorse the projects as listed in the agenda to be put forward for the Growth Areas Infrastructure Contribution Fund 2025. And 4, delegate authority to the CEO to approve final submissions to the Growing Suburbs Fund and Growth Areas Infrastructure Contribution Fund 2025 based on the list of endorsed projects by the grant deadline of 28th of Feb 2025. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Pomeroy.
I'd like to move the motion as recommended by the officers.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Is there a seconder? Councillor Owen? Thank you both. Councillor Pomeroy to speak first, please.
It is not lost on me that 3 of these 4 key advocacy priorities revolve around the safety of our community. Our roads aren't up to standard, and this is a pressing issue that cannot be ignored. While other communities are benefiting from the significant infrastructure projects, often through resources that come from our own backyard, we are left to deal with failing or inadequate infrastructure. A Lang Lang bypass is needed. Intersection upgrades on our national highway between Narnagoon and Longwarry are imperative. Our unsealed road network is a constant source of frustration and danger. Dust, potholes, erosion plague these routes, making travel hazardous for our residents and visitors. Today alone, I've had 6 residents reach out about the need for increased maintenance and long-term solutions, and I could add another 7th tonight. We implore the government to do something. Our communities have been promised safer roads in the past, and we shouldn't have to wait any longer. These aren't small investments though. 24 million for the Lang Lang Sand Truck Bypass, 109 million for the road sealing package, nearly 30 million for Cardinia life upgrades, and multi-millions for the Princess Highway. As we lead into the federal election, it's vital we are united on what our community needs.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. So obviously we're in the lead up to a federal election that has to be held by May 2025. So only a couple of months away. So this is a really good document. Council officers have been working really hard regarding our advocacy, and as highlighted by Councillor Pomeroy, Lang Lang Sand Bypass, the road sealing package. So Council is calling for obviously the previous $109 million that was previously committed. We're asking for all of that to be recommitted at this election, so that road sealing package. Obviously, the previous Morrison government committed 150 million. Council received 41 million, so we're asking for that to be recommitted in the new election and the new government. Of course, Cardinia Life, we need all levels of government to support much needed upgrade to that community facility, and of course the Princess Highway intersection upgrades. Another element of this report is talking about the Growing Suburbs Fund and the Growth Area Infrastructure Contribution GAIC Fund. So this report highlights potential projects, both in those areas, some much needed public toilet upgrades, also some significant active transport links, and also some major intersections. Thurles Road, Princess Highway intersection, the big one, Brunt Road, Whiteside Road, Princess Highway intersection. We know that intersection is at capacity and is desperately needed. So all these projects are in the mix for to be part of the application. As per the officer's recommendation, the CEO will decide on which projects best fit the criteria when we make that application. So I encourage residents to have a look at this report, the advocacy prospectus, and the projects that we're advocating for at the federal election, and also those state government grant opportunities. In the lead up to the federal election, I understand that council will be working with the community to raise awareness on these 4 areas, key areas, and we call upon the community to be part of that, tell their story, their experience, why these projects are important to them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. I would speak against the motion and foreshadow, should the motion fail, an alternative motion to be put. Look, these projects are critical, extremely important, in particular the 3 major roads ones, the Lang Lang Sand Truck Bypass, the road sealing package, and the Princess Highway intersection upgrades, absolutely critical for community safety. And they're significant projects of quite large scale. The basis for my speaking against the motion, however, is that the package that's been put to us, it comprises 3 parts. One is those 4 major projects, and the other 2 are the Growing Suburbs Fund and the Growth Areas Infrastructure Fund. Now, my concern, the core of my concern, is that we've been having extensive briefings around the financial situation that council faces, and that of those big 4, the Cardinia Life redevelopment requires us to tip in 15 million of our own cash to balance the 28.5, or the 28 that we're seeking from the government, and the Growing Suburbs Fund and the Growth Areas Infrastructure Fund are that classic setup from state government where they'll tip in half, but they require the local community to tip in the other half. That's one-for-one funding. So what we're looking at in the package that we're going to be advocating for is the Growing Suburbs Fund. We're seeking 3 million, so we're going to have to tip in 3 million too. The Growth Areas Infrastructure Fund, we're seeking $28.5 million worth of projects. So that means we're going to have to tip in $28.5 million worth of projects too. And I'm very concerned that we don't have that sort of money. There'll be knock-on implications beyond the capital investment arising from that to our budget. So as it currently stands as a package with all of this bundled together, the only 3 projects which we're seeking 100% funding from federal government on are the Lang Lang Sand Truck Bypass, the road sealing package, and the Princess Highway intersection work. I would support them without blinking an eye, but unfortunately, the fact that Cardinia's existing community has to tip in the amount of money that it does for the other ones, I'd be quite concerned if we actually won that money, because we then got to go and dig into our own pockets. I think there's a reckoning arriving for Cardinia Shire Council regarding budget and regarding the impact of the growth corridor on the whole Cardinia community, and the time is now, and it's this council, and we're going to have to start, instead of just going with the way the state and the federal government wants to play things, it's time for the community to actually start saying, hang on a second, we're on the losing side of the deal here. So I don't commend this motion as it currently stands.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. Any other speakers to this item? Councillor Roberts online.
Through you, Mayor, I do support this motion, and I feel that in looking at what is being put forward for the particularly for the growth area related grant packages, that they are sensible bids. Particularly the missing trail links along from McMullen Road to Majestic Drive in Officer, and the Beaconsfield to Emerald Road to O'Neill, Beaconsfield. They're really good footpaths that we are missing, these missing links that prevent our community from making use of bikes and cars, I should say bikes and walking. So the other key things that have put forward in the Growing Suburbs Fund are a number of upgrades to public toilets. Council gets a lot of feedback about the state of our public toilets and does its best to keep on top of maintenance of the toilets, but some of them do get to the point where they really need a full upgrade. And Council has a public toilet strategy, and these particular projects tie into that strategy. So it makes sense to be making use of this fund to, if we're successful, to get those upgrades done. So and that's two of the key parts of this motion that I feel quite strongly about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just comment on obviously the issue at hand here, and especially I suppose 100% that I really like how we are taking an approach where a lot of these things are regarding community safety and keeping our community safe. The Cardinia Life redevelopment, though, I know is something that has been discussed a fair bit within this current council, and I think with the current pending UPPP grant and now us putting in our federal priorities, we are saying that the current footprint, the current capacity, the current state of the facilities are just not servicing our community. And while, yes, 100% it is a silly, well, not silly amount of money, but it is a lot of money to be putting into, recreational and health facilities, it is money that needs to go there, as that is our flagship leisure health centre. So I will be supporting it in that regard. And also just regarding the one-to-one contributions, I believe, at least with the intersections, we should have access to the developer contribution funds, which wouldn't be as much of a burden on our budget or the community's back pockets. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Payton.
Like Councillor Nicol, I speak against the motion. I think it's not because of what's in the package, but it's the timing of the package, and it's about our ability as a council right now, without any idea of what our forthcoming budget is going to entail, to be making these decisions and commitments, to be spending future council money that we don't even know that we have yet. I would never go grocery shopping without counting what I've got in my purse first, or checking out my, bank holding. And I just think it's prudent financial management, especially in light of our, forecast deficit coming up. I think that the prudent thing right now would be to actually unbundle this package, as Councillor Nicol suggested, that we say no to this current motion, but agree to have it separated out so that we can actually pass a motion to pass tonight the items that would be fully funded elsewhere, and then wait until we have all of our budgetary figures in front of us to decide whether council can actually afford these other items. And as I'll just reiterate, they are important items that I support being funded, but I want to know for certain that we can actually afford it, and that we're not going to be passing on extra weight and debt to our community, who are increasingly homeless, increasingly being thrown out of their homes because they can't pay rent, can't pay mortgage. I think we're at a bit of an economic crisis out there, and we need to take note of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payton. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking to this report, I have a look at the breadth of things. As people know, I'm a big supporter of rate capping, but when I have a look at the Growing Suburbs Fund in this report that requires councils now to put in 50% to match whatever we get in the Growing Suburbs Fund. And also too, it's to be noted that when rate capping first came in, the Growing Suburbs Fund, I think, was about $100 million, went to $50 million, $25 million, $5 million, which puts more pressure on councils to deliver the over 100 services that we provide, and also to put the infrastructure in. I'm still a really big supporter of rate capping, but we need state government, if they're going to determine what the rate cap is, to come to the party and join, and councils shouldn't be holding the burden on all of this. The Growing Suburbs Fund was created when rate capping was created, and we need to get more money out of it. They need to realise that councils can't do what they need to do, and to put 50% contribution when we never used to have to is just crazy. But anyway, I hope they reconsider. This makes this budget, as it's been pointed out by my fellow councillors who are struggling to approve these things, are absolutely correct in the fact that how do we provide the money if we're struggling with our budget now, and if we get some of these projects up? I don't know where the money's going to come from. And heaven forbid if we get them all at once. I mean, I don't think we could probably borrow enough money to hold them. But anyway, I'm interested in what my fellow councillors have to say. I'm only one vote, so thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other speakers to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Pomeroy to sum up.
Thank you to everyone for their insight tonight. I think it is important to note that the Growing Suburbs Fund, the projects put forward, they will offset the council's budget if any funding is received. In addition to this, the intersections, which are vital, are funded by GAIC and developer contributions, or at least that is what officers will be seeking the exemption for. Applications close on the 28th of February, and I am supportive of these applications going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy, for your summary. We'll now put the officer recommendation to 7.2.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? That is tied. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, Councillor Roberts, I didn't see you online. She was 4. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. I declare that carried. Thank you. I forgot about our person online. I apologise for that. Sorry, Councillor Roberts. Thank you. I declare that carried. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions to that item. We'll move ahead. Item 7.2.2, Asphalt Resurfacing Program 2024-25. The officer recommendation is that Council 1 award the road packages to the following contractors to undertake the Asphalt Resurfacing Program 2024-25. A, road packages 1, 2, 3 and 5 to Prestige Paving Proprietary Limited for a sum of $1,043,759.38, excluding GST. And B, road packages 4 and 6 to R&C Asphalt Paving Proprietary Limited for a sum of $353,546, excluding GST. And 2, approve the use of project contingency budget as outlined in the confidential attachment for the delivery of work under the program. So that's the officer recommendations. Do we have a mover for this item? Councillor Thompson?
I vote to move forward with the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder in the chamber? Councillor Potter. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is a pretty detailed report that goes into the whole procurement process on how a contractor is selected and chosen. And it basically comes down to two major components of how capable of the work are they willing to do, are they of doing and completing the work to a more than satisfactory standard, and as well as taking into cost that are proposed by each of the applicants. I'd like to just say that it seems that council and officers get lots of pressure from the community to make sure that these jobs are completed to a more than satisfactory level, but it also is cost effective as possible. And this report goes into really good detail on how everything has been considered and that the contracts are being awarded to Prestige, and the other applicant, which I can't find at the moment. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mayor. This report provides consideration for the appointment of contractors to undertake the asphalt road resurfacing of various roads within Cardinia. The proposed works under the program include the outlaying of over 55 rural and urban road segments throughout our Shire, which I agree with the officer's motion because this is necessary work for safety. I trust the detail of the report that the best quality and priced applicants have won. We as a council recently had the opportunity to have a detailed briefing with the maintenance team, and the work they do is nothing short of amazing. Among other things, we learnt that our network in Cardinia is around 1,600 kilometres. And in Cardinia, apparently, our unmade roads could almost drive to Sydney. There's 810 kilometre sealed roads and 831 kilometres unsealed roads. And we have 4 teams, 13 members for sealed roads, 13 members for unsealed, and 13 for drainage. And our roadside maintenance crew has 7 members. And Cardinia is an employer of choice in this space, and that weather drives volume of requests. And staff can try to have plans to be proactive, but they have to be reactive to potential dangerous weather emergencies as they come up too. So when that happens, the scheduled maintenance takes a back seat. I think in all cases, communication is very important. So I hope that we have a great comms team about this, of course. But yeah, I think that this is absolutely imperative to do these work, the asphalt resurfacing program. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Just speaking to this item, it's really interesting when you dissect all our roads. Some are controlled by council, some are controlled by the state government, some are controlled by the federal government. Quite often council cops a bad rap for all the roads that are out there. I'd like to think that since I've been on council, we really contribute a lot more money than we used to in our budgets towards these roads, including sealed roads and unsealed roads. And this is just another commitment of council, literally, and we are the smallest level with the least amount of money putting in. I know in the past we've actually had sealing of the hills where we went and borrowed, I'm pretty sure it was about $20 million in relation to over and above to try and seal the roads even more, even though we were only one of the groups of government covered by these roads, particularly the connector roads. Anyway, I just think this is really good. We're trying the best we can to try and make sure that the roads are sealed and continue to be sealed properly, the ones that we control. And it doesn't talk about the unsealed roads, but that's just another event in itself. Anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I commend this motion to my colleagues as well. As Councillor Ross was pointing out, and also Councillor Potter, the extent of our road network at the local government level is huge. It is to Sydney and back, dirt road one way and bitumen the way back. And this particular example sort of brings home to me the importance also of the sealing, the road sealing item from the previous agenda item as well. The more of these unsealed roads that we can get constructed and built in a hurry, the more of them can come across into this sort of package. And the cost of the asphalt resealing per kilometre and the maintenance of the asphalt roads is much, much lower than all of our unmade roads. And so it's important that once they are made, though, that they stay in good nick and that they provide effective service to local road users. So I commend the motion. It's great that council is staying on top of its sealed road network once it is sealed, and it highlights to me the importance of getting as much more sealed as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. I'll go back to Councillor Thompson to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, fellow councillors. Not much further to add. I'd just like to thank all the officers for their due diligence in selecting the best contractor for the job. And thank you to the fellow councillors for highlighting the fact that we need to be still dedicating lots of resources to our unsealed and sealed network and council's ongoing commitment to that. Thank you.
All right, we'll put the officer recommendation to item 7.2.2 up for a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you. Moving on to 7.4.1, which is a variation report. Contract CT000560, construction of Oxford Street in Lang Lang. The recommendation is that council note the contents of this report and provides authorisation for the variation of $54,020.60, excluding GST, to the contract CT000560, construction of Oxford Street in Lang Lang, to increase the contract limit to $493,977.54, excluding GST. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Payton. Do you wish to move the officer recommendation?
I agree to move the officer recommendation.
Thank you. We note that. Is there a seconder for this item? Councillor Ross. Councillor Payton to speak first.
Thank you, Mayor. Council's procurement policy requires that when a contract's expenditure blows out by more than 10%, and in this instance 11%, it must come to a council meeting for authorisation. In this case, the construction works at Oxford Street in Lang Lang have now been completed, so this is a retrospective approval for an additional spend of $54,020, increasing the contract limit to $493,377. I note that council does allow a contingency in its budget for these projects, but in this case, the contingency spend was marginally more. The additional unforeseen expense was caused by underground drainage works, which needed to be performed in order to support the new road construction, the need for which was only revealed after works commenced. This all occurred during council caretaker period, and this is the first council meeting following the completion of the project for us to authorise the variation. I would add that despite the project variation, the total spend on this project still lands within the capital planning budget for 24-25. I consider that decisions taken by council in absence of our approval were necessary and correct for successful delivery of the project, and so I recommend that we accept this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ross is the seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just supporting this variation. Quite often things, sometimes they go under, sometimes they go over on the price that we have tendered out. People can only do the best they can to try and assess what it will cost. I must say in the past, we've been fortunate that we haven't had so many things blow out as many other councils do that just have to give up on projects. This is one that has been completed. There was some discovery, as Councillor Payton said, once they went underground to discover that there was more there that they needed to do. I'm glad to see that it was completed properly and that we honoured the partner in building it. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this one? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Payton to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. There's not much more to add except that I would say this is my first interaction or introduction to the level of the contract, the detail that's in it, to actually deliver something like this new road. The pages and pages and pages of approvals, you can see that council really go through a very thorough diligence process in order to be sure that they do hold the third-party contractor accountable to the work in terms of cost and timing. And I think also the fact that council did have an undisclosed contingency fund ready on the back burner in case things went awry. Again, good planning. So that's all I'll add for the motion, but thank you.
Thank you. We'll put the officer recommendation to 7.4.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Going to item 7.5.1, Council Resolutions Report, July to December 2024. The recommendation is that Council note the report detailing implementation of Council resolutions for the period 1 July 2024 to 31 December 2024. I note Councillor Owen wants to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. This report's a little bit different. It's a bit longer than the quarterly report. The attached report details all resolutions made from the 1st July 2024 to the 31st December 2024. It includes the actions taken to implement the decisions. The report does not include matters listed for noting. The quarterly resolutions report was last tabled on the 15th of July council meeting and reported for the period of April to June last year. Due to the election period and council welcome program, the report was not presented to council for the quarterly July-September meeting quarter. This report provides the resolutions register as it stands from the 1st of July to the end of December last year. So the Chief Executive Officer is responsible for ensuring that council's decisions are implemented without undue delay, and when requested, to report to council in respect of the implementation of these decisions. And I'm sure other councillors will refer to some updates, but I wanted to talk about the notice of motion that was presented at the August 2024 council meeting in the last council, and that was Notice 1105, review of council's unsealed roads and drainage maintenance program. So that was unanimously passed, I believe, but the resolution was that council, one, undertake a review of its maintenance strategy for the unsealed road and associated drainage network and present a report to the council on this within 6 months. This review will focus on the appropriate alignment of maintenance work between the unsealed road and adjoining drainage network to best ensure good performance outcomes for these assets. 3, the review, amongst other elements, will incorporate a SWOT analysis of current maintenance practices across Cardinia's different topographical, regions to help inform future maintenance strategy development. 4, the review, amongst other elements, will also focus on the performance and maintenance of both private and public driveway and crossover culverts and how they can impact the adjoining road network. 5, this review will also provide consideration towards council's current resource allocation for unsealed roads and drainage maintenance program and what future resource allocations may be required to improve the ongoing performance of these assets. And finally, 6, this review and subsequent report will be used to inform future development of the maintenance strategy for Cardinia's unsealed road and drainage network. Thanks for your patience for that. But obviously, this work is currently being undertaken. Tonight, there's a flavour throughout all the agenda items about roads and the need to do better in this space. And I'm really pleased that this notice of motion got up and councillors were briefed last week regarding the progress of this whole review. And so it was very interesting. And I look forward to that full report coming back to council because we do need to do better in this space. With the limited resources we have to do better. And I welcome this review, and I was really pleased with the update, and I look forward to that coming to council in the future. I'll pause there. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Pomeroy.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Owen. It was pretty good reading to go back and see what had actually happened before many of us starting in here as well. Just some of the ones I'd like to highlight. The Pakenham East Precincts suburb naming. We still don't have an update as to when we'll be able to move ahead and register that name with Geographic Names Victoria. We have put in for a review and we're just waiting back to hear when that will be done, and then we'll be able to advise the next steps. A similar one with that is the Officer District Park, and we look forward to finalising the name for that with engagement commencing likely next month. And there's also the most recent one, the engagement has just closed on Riding for the Disabled. So I look forward to reading that report as well. I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Any other speakers to this report? Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just see if there's an officer who might be able to give us an update on the 7.2.2, which is the Public Art Independent Assessment Panel, what's happening in that space for the Lang Lang art. They might have to take it on notice. But I've just wanted to know if we had an update on.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll refer your question to the CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Ross, and through you, Mayor. So there's two aspects to what you've asked. It's the setting up of the committee to assess, so that's in progress. And the Lang Lang artwork is also in progress in accordance with the council resolution.
Thank you, CEO.
Thank
Back
you.
to you, Councillor Ross.
No, that was all. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other speakers to this one? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Owen to summarise, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks all councillors for your contribution. This report is really important. It just really gives councillors reassurance, particularly when the council puts up a notice of motion, which is separate to a officer's recommendation, that it gives us reassurance that A, it's being investigated, actioned, and update of where things sit with that. In previous years, before this report was in the agenda, there was no reporting back of that. And obviously that was highlighted in a couple of terms ago that it needs to. Councillors need that reassurance that, particularly for their own notices of motion, that what was the end result? And this report does reflect that and inform councillors of the actions. Thank you. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.5.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. 7.5.2 is our next agenda item, and that's the Environment Council Plan Initiatives Quarterly Report. The recommendation here is that Council notes the Environmental Council Plan Initiatives Quarterly Report for the 3 months to December 2024. Do I have a mover to note this report? I see Councillor Pomeroy.
I'd like to move the report as per the officer recommendation.
Thank you. We note that. Is there a seconder? Councillor Potter. Councillor Pomeroy to speak first.
What a report this one was. I do really encourage everyone to give this one a read. I had no idea just how involved council was with community organisations and volunteers to ensure so many environmental initiatives across our Shire. I'm just going to highlight a few because it is a very extensive report. It's been great to see council working on some biodiversity monitoring. The powerful owl, the yellow-bellied glider have been observed at a number of locations. There's also extensive works being done for the southern brown bandicoot, with some artificial habitat also being provided. Back in December at the community volunteers reception, it was great to see these little bandicoots running in underground tunnels. That has been a previous project. School programs, library sessions, green waste drop-offs, textile audits, free Indigenous plants, trees for weeds swap events, some absolutely fabulous initiatives in here. And let's not forget working with the state government to provide backup power systems at Emerald, Gembrook and Cockatoo, providing greater community resilience in times of prolonged power outages. I was also really pleased to see the digitisation of the Nobelius nursery items by Emerald and District Museum. All in all, a fantastic report, and I'd like to move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. I'll go to Councillor Potter as the seconder.
Here. Thank you. You've said many of the same things I wanted to say. Basically, I'm so proud to be part of a council that's so committed to supporting our residents and the land, our biodiversity. We are the caretakers of our local flora and fauna now in our time for future generations. It involves the community volunteers with passion and dedication, dedicated and educated staff. I'm just so impressed. The work our staff do in this space is imperative, very inspiring, caring and fascinating, and it's well within our council plan's focus area. Number 3, thriving environments and its associated initiatives. This is a feel-good read. We as a community value our natural assets and support our biodiversity to thrive. The initiatives are all set out in the report, and there's not one that you shouldn't read because they're all so inspiring. But yeah, the ones that stood out to me was the 20 powerful owl observations that were made across the northern monitoring areas, the 11 yellow-bellied glider observations in Gembrook Park, Mountain Recreation Reserve, Wattle Creek and Emerald Lake Park, the 14 viable habitats assessed for the swamp skink, and also the southern brown bandicoot. I reiterate what Councillor Pomeroy shared. There's so much more that you can read, and I encourage you to. It is absolutely a feel-good read, and I'm so proud.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for getting excited about this. This is a really good read, as was pointed out. If you have a look through the program, there's even things there that people have probably lived here for 50 years, unless you lived in the hills, didn't realise are in here. One of those examples is the Greening Cardinia program. The council's Greening Cardinia program aims to improve biodiversity on private and public land and conserve habitat for threatened species. The program has 3 categories. I'm only going to highlight one of them, which is number 2, which is the Indigenous plant giveaway. The aim of the program is to support residents, landowners, schools, kindergartens and community groups to use Indigenous plants in and around their property. Dot point number 1, small property vouchers of $50 are available to residents and landowners on properties less than 4,000 square metres, and large property vouchers $125 are available to landowners with properties greater than 4,000 square metres, as well as schools, kindergartens and community groups. The vouchers enable landowners to select from a range of Indigenous plants, shrubs and grasses from either Cardinia Environment Coalition Nursery or the Friends of the Helmeted Honeyeater Nursery. And to see how many people have taken this up, the giveaway opened up the start of November, and as of the 26th of November, which was only in 26 days, they'd given out over $6,500 in vouchers claimed by landowners. That just goes to show that people in Cardinia Shire do care about things in their area. And I must say the Environment Coalition, they are a local group. They seed the plants and they propagate the plants themselves. So it's a local group. And I just think it's great to see that many people out there trying to make an effort to make our place more sustainable, and also to look after some of the animals locally that are struggling. That's just one little tidbit of what I think is a good news story. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, I'll call out another one. Roadside weed control program update, and that's where we're participating in prioritising council-managed high conservation value roadsides where biodiversity values can be protected and enhanced. But also there's mention made of weed spraying as well. It's been a bad season for ragwort. Ragwort's coming back in the hills, and that's a all landowners to the tiller situation. It's public, private, whoever's got land with ragwort on it's got to get onto the job. And so this work is critical as well for biodiversity and controlling weeds species. And the other items that are listed are they're where community happens. Those sorts of projects that are listed in this report is one of the reasons I stood for council. I'm keen for more of this to be happening, and I hate to be a bit of a downer in the conversation, but these sorts of programs are chicken feed compared to the sorts of dollars we were talking about just before, a couple of items ago in our budget. We're not throwing much at this at all in our budget. And when the chips really get down, if we get to squeeze more or we fall for these federal and state government ribbon cutting exercise, capital works projects, and we chip in our half, that money is taking from this money. And ultimately it all comes home to roost. But this is where community sits. And this is what motivates me for this term of council. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Owen, you want to speak to this item?
Thank you. It's a great report. Just talking about the energy resilience at Emerald, Cockatoo and Gembrook. So it's great to see that the works are now complete at the Cockatoo Community Complex, Cockatoo and Worrell Reserve Pavilion at Emerald. And the final commissioning and testing is being completed at Gembrook Community Centre and Gembrook. But there was an official opening in recent weeks of those systems. So it's really great. That's been fully funded by the state, which is great. And I know that council has applied for additional energy resilience systems. So we look forward to hopefully a positive outcome of those applications. And I know Upper Beaconsfield is one. So I look forward to hearing hopefully some positive news. The annual Heritage Grants program, this is a great program. And it's pleasing that the latest round included the restoration of 30 early pioneer graves located at the Packham Cemetery. The project involved replacing the tops of graves with the new gravel materials and general maintenance and upkeep of the site. Restoration of historic horse trough and surrounding landscaping at the Lang Lang, part of the former Great Southern Rail Yards. This project involves stripping paint off the brick trough and repairing and sealing broken bricks. A stable fence will also be constructed with the interpretation signage. And also tree maintenance works on the significant English oak tree located and overhanging the Nanagoon St John's Church, which was one of the earliest buildings in the township. So it's great to see those grants. And just finally, the green waste drop-off. This continues to be a real successful program that council operates and benefits many residents. So 6 green waste drop-off events were organised and delivered in 2024. The 2 most recent green waste drop-off events were held in August and October. The August event in Pakenham, a total of 390 vehicles dropped 96 tonnes of green waste over 6 days. The October drop-off at Listerfield, a total of 202 vehicles dropped off 42 tonnes of green waste over 7 days. And also, I was really pleased, following severe weather in September, an additional drop-off was set up at Cleanaway Listerfield in September, where 149 vehicles dropped 32 tonnes of green waste. So as part of council's commitment, giving residents alternatives to getting rid of this green waste, alternatives to burning. So it's great that this program continues to be successful and a real option for residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Payton.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to jump on the bandwagon. I'll just read through the priority again because it says we value our natural assets and support our biodiversity to thrive. We place a high value on our natural assets and biodiversity. We take action to help our natural assets and biodiversity thrive and build their resilience to climate change and natural hazards. We enhance green spaces and habitat links, support our communities to live sustainably, and champion sustainable development and waste management practices. Now, just on a comment about this team, our biodiversity and environment team, they're a very slim, they're lean machine in terms of the number of people and the amount of funds that they have and the huge output that they manage. And what they do is they lead our community, they mobilise armies of volunteers. And sorry about my voice, it's just, that's not emotion, that's just a cold. So they mobilise armies of volunteers. And I think that in this space, Cardinia should be proud because it's best practice. This is the great synergy between what local government and the communities can achieve. And I'd just love to see more of it in that space that, communities tell us what they want, what's important to them, and we help to lead their efforts and promote that. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Payton. Are there any other speakers? If not, I'll go back to Councillor Pomeroy. Was there? I can't see it. Councillor Roberts, do you have your hand up? Thank you. Go ahead.
There was one more. Through you, Mayor. the children are our future, and one of the programs we actually learned about on our bus tour of the Shire, our orientation tour, that the environmental team are involved with facilitating, is the environmental education sessions that are held at Deep Creek Reserve. In terms 3 and 4, there was a total of 17 sessions delivered down there to 216 kindergarten students and 350 primary school students. Swinburne University Technology Prime SCI delivers this program, which is developed with council, and it's really great that this really special environmental site is being used to teach young people about the biodiversity and the wetlands down in that area. It's really, really important. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there no other speakers for this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Pomeroy to sum up.
Thank you all. And I'm sure there's a few more that we haven't covered. I'd just like to close it off by reminding everyone that there are plenty of places to drop off your e-waste and batteries. We're running a 6-month trial with the Miley bus library service as well. Super important. Bawbaw Shire had another truck fire last week from batteries being in there. So we don't really want to put our staff at risk. So please make sure that you consider that as well. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll put the officer recommendation to 7.5.2 that the report be noted up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Going on to 7.5.3, the community engagement update. The recommendation is that council notes the community engagement activities being undertaken in January and February for 2025. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Colin Ross, do you wish to move the officer's recommendation, Councillor?
Sorry, I'll move the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Seconder, Councillor Pomeroy. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
I just move the officer's recommendation that this outlines the community engagement opportunities that have commenced and are continuing through the months of January and February. I won't go into any more than what's in there because there's a few in there for people to have a read. I'll leave it for fellow people to share if they see anything they'd like to highlight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Pomeroy.
Thank you. I would like to second this motion. I'd just like to highlight the deliberative engagement panel, which is currently going ahead and really looking at our community vision and providing some really vital information that will help inform the council plan. I had the opportunity to drop in the other night and observe, and I was blown away by the trust, the vulnerability that this group had formed in just the 3 sessions where they've been, and the advice and information that they were providing back to us. I've seen a very, very early draft of the community vision, and it absolutely nails who we are and where we're placed right now. So yeah, I'm supportive of this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Are there any other speakers to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of the most challenging areas in council, trying to engage the community. There's so many ways you can engage the community now, whether it's online, over the phone, in person, and everyone has a different communication sort of skill. So it's always a challenge. I know that council, every year we talk about community engagement, what's best practice, how we can improve it, and how many people are interacting. I'd encourage more people in the community to come forward when we do have these different groups that meet together. We want to know your opinion, so please come along. I know our staff who we send out on these duties do a really good job. They try and engage the best they can. We do need more people to engage, though. Quite often we don't have enough people, and as a council we do want to hear what the community have to say in these areas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now put the officer recommendation to 7.5.3 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. That concludes the ordinary business. We'll move now into agenda item number 8, which is councillor reports. Councillors, are there any matters that you wish to report upon? Councillor Owen.
Thanks, Mayor. Obviously, Christmas was some time ago, but I attended the Beaconsfield Carols by the Creek on the 22nd of December. It was a great event, great turnout. Thanks to all the volunteers. Also, thanks to all the other volunteers for the various events that we had at Christmas time. Australia Day, we had obviously Cardinia's Awards. That was great. We had a citizenship ceremony that was good. And I attended with Councillor Nicol the Australia Day ceremony at Cockatoo, which was great. On the 23rd of January, we had the official opening of Jim Parks Reserve in Beaconsfield. I'm really proud of Council's ongoing renewal program of our older playgrounds. So we saw the renewal of this playground, and it was great to have the family of Jim Parks there. And they were really thrilled that Council undertook the renewal and also the interpretation signage that really depicts the story behind Jim Parks and his contribution to Beaconsfield. So thanks to everyone that was involved on that project. Yesterday marked the 42nd anniversary of Ash Wednesday, and I know there was a number of services in the area respecting the anniversary. And I had a meeting with roads is definitely a topic in today's meeting, but I had a number of resident meetings regarding Huxtable Road and Bessie Creek Road. So it was great to get a better understanding as a councillor of the frustrations of residents regarding those two future road projects. So that's my activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Are there any other matters to report, or should we move on? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to highlight a few things been happening in Two Marks backyard. Yes, we had the major carols event, which was a raging success as always. And then we moved over the Chrissy period into the New Year period, and we had the Australia Day Awards night, followed directly by the Australia Day event. So I just wanted to send a heartfelt congratulations to all the nominees, just to get to a point where someone thinks you're worthy of receiving an Australia Day Award, whether it's Citizen, Young, Old or Community Event of the Year. It's just great to be recognised in that way with a night that does recognise people that give up their own time. And also congratulations to the very deserving winners of that night. And I'd just like to highlight, I know it's probably a common theme that you'll hear, a lot of councillors go on about during this councillor, what are we in? Reports time, thank you. Is the importance of volunteers and just trying to engage in a time where, a lot of people don't have excess time and money and things like that, to be staying connected with their communities and getting involved with local groups, arts, sports, environmental, whatever it might be. It is good to stay connected and it does benefit our community. So thank you to all those people. And the last one from me, Mayor, is the opening of the Officer District Park that we had in mid to late December. Had great representation from council and locals as well as MPs. It was a great morning, and from all reports, everyone absolutely adores the park. There have been some teething problems, so thank you to all officers who have been dealing with that, and thank you to all community members that have reached out with positive and constructive feedback to, what is such a really, really big draw card to the area, a great outlet for people of young and old. And we'll continue to make that a safe and happy space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Payton.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Western Port Bay and the Western Port Biosphere Foundation. Western Port Bay and its surrounding wetlands border 4 councils, being the Bass Coast Shire, Cardinia, Casey and Mornington Peninsula. Frankston Council also puts into the foundation, even though they don't directly border it. I'm a member of the Council Liaison Committee for the Western Port Biosphere Reserve Foundation. The biosphere is recognised on the world stage. It is the only wetland in Victoria important enough to be recognised by both the United Nations as a biosphere reserve and the International Ramsar Convention for Wetland Conservation. What I found out is there are little 30-gram birds that migrate to our wetlands each year. They fly here from Russia. They do an 11,000 kilometre journey and they stop once. So it sort of puts our big planes and their refuelling to shame. So one of the important aspects of this is just understanding how delicate that and fragile the those Ramsar wetlands are, and making sure that we actually protect them. So last week I took a boat ride on Western Port Bay together with Simon King, Cardinia's coordinator and of biodiversity, environment and heritage. We were joined by staff from the foundation, some passionate conservationists, and also councillors from the other surrounding councils. With other councils, Cardinia funds about $20,000 annually to the foundation to assist its work in research, education, community engagement, partnerships and on-ground conservation projects. I'll have more information at our March meeting regarding the strategic framework that the Biosphere Foundation is working on. Another committee meeting that I've attended recently is the Community Assets Committee in Lang Lang. Now that is supported, and the people that sit on that committee are actually from the local netball club, the football club, soccer club, the Rec Reserve Committee itself. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the remarkable service that all of these committees do. And coming up in the next few weeks for us is looking at our capital works budgets, and we're putting out capital works grants to the community. And I just want to say that this is a very good initiative from Cardinia, because it just gives back to the volunteers who are continuing to give to their committees, to their communities. Sorry. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to raise a few things. Probably the biggest challenge across Bunyip Ward has been some localised summer storms recently. I'd really like to shout out to the emergency services, first responders and neighbours who are supporting each other through some of these challenging times. Earlier in Jan, I was sitting in Tynong and we got less than a mil while Bunyip was getting 93 mils. So you can imagine the heartache that brings to people whose backyards are flooding. A lot of the things have been mentioned, so I'll skip through most of them. Tynong Progress Association held a community meeting last weekend to call for action and get support for their petition on upgrades to the Narnagoon to Longwarry part of the National Highway. So if you haven't seen that petition, check it out. It was also my absolute pleasure to welcome Driscoll's to Pakenham at their official opening. There's plenty of new businesses and we're so fortunate to welcome them all, but this is a really important one. It's a multi-million dollar investment, and it just shows that how regarded we are for our agricultural soils and the cutting edge research that they can do here. So that will be the head of their research and development activities. And it was a pleasure to go with Councillor Payton and actually understand what a nucleus mother house is. And they were doing some tissue culture lab work as well. So really impressive to have that in our backyard as well. The other one that I would like to remind everyone is that it is community grant season. So not only for council, but there are a heap of opportunities out there. Make sure you know what your project is, what outcomes it's going to be, and get writing. I know, once again, shout out to the volunteers that are sitting down writing those. I know the pain you're going through. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just start off by highlighting what Councillor Deputy Mayor Pomeroy pointed out there. We do have some council officers which will help you. If you're really, really struggling, give council a call. They will help you and assist you in writing out your application. I'd like to highlight two things, and I know a couple of the other councillors have highlighted them. I think the way that we now do the Australia Day Awards is a real highlight. I'd like to thank the staff for making it a really special evening for all the people who attend. I've seen different formats of this over the last 17 years. And at the moment, I think we've got the balance reasonably right. It really highlights and details all the nominees' achievements in their application. Whereas in the past, when we used to do it on Australia Day, we really only commented about the winner. And that really left, because quite often there's that many people, you can't even guess. You read through the nominations and you just have no idea who's going to get the prize or get acknowledged. And the achievements by some of the people and the amount of time and effort that they put in our Shire is absolutely extraordinary. I'd encourage anyone, if you get the opportunity, read some of what some of the things that these people do and have done for a really, really long time. It's a shame that a lot of them are getting older, and this is an area that council is going to try and focus on in the future, while we still have a lot of amazing volunteers out there to encourage the young ones to come in and just get the joy out of what they do in their volunteering work. And I'm just going to highlight probably one of our really good volunteers in the crowd at the moment, crowd of numbers, Jack Mitchell. He stands on the corner of the park run nearly every week, the corner of the 2.5 Ks, and he sees all the pain from the people running backwards and forwards. He's there, hail, rain or shine. He attends, that'd be about, how many of you attended, Jack? 380, and they're only held once a week. So that just goes to show, and that's only one of the things Jack's been involved in. Jack also too is a past award winner in Cardinia Shire's awards. So I think we do it really well. I think it's really, really a highlight of our year, seeing what the people do. Also too, I must say, just one of the favourite things I do on council is attend the citizenship ceremonies. And I know that we have them regularly. And for anybody who has never been to one, I'd encourage you to go along and have a look. It is really, really exciting. You see these people commit to Australia. We do encourage them to never forget their past or their culture, but really, really embrace this culture in Australia, and the fact that you're making, and what even makes it more special, they're making Cardinia Shire home in this space. When I must say, everyone who attends, we have a really good time. They bring their friends and family. You want to hear how some people yell out and get highly excited because they know it's a life-defining thing when you take on a new country and you embrace the citizenship. Anyway, they're just a few of the highlights I've had over the last little while. And I would like to thank the staff again for making those days special, because we attend, we turn up, we hand out things. They do all the hard work, putting things in bags and making it look really smart.
Councillor Ross, thank you. Thanks.
Thank
Are there
you.
any other councillors who would like to speak? Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, other councillors. My gosh, Cardinia is overflowing and bubbling up with absolutely awesome things to do. And I have trouble choosing what to share because there's too many good things. But I can't go past mentioning what happened this weekend, the Upper Beaconsfield Festival, where the Cardinia creative community managed the main stage entertainment with local artists, kids and experienced musicians, and they all got to shine, and it was just an awesome day. And I want to thank all the volunteers on the UBF committee, the local community, local business sponsors, and of course the council, who were the major sponsor. And it was great that Brad Batten showed up and was there to announce the Tower Run winners. And there were apparently over 300 entries, including our very own Lord Mayor, Councillor Owen, and our GM, Wayne Mack. So well done to everyone. It was just a fantastic community event. I also attended the Officer and District Advisory Group, where the previous Officer Councillor, Tammy Rafford, was voted President. And we are seeking new members. The next meeting will be on Wednesday the 26th at 7:30 at the Rob Porter Rec Reserve in the Ruse HQ meeting room, next to the changing rooms, overlooking the Oval. And we talk about anything and everything that the residents of Officer and District would like to talk about. and I do my best. I attended the Pride Day Rainbow Picnic at the Old Cheese Factory in Berwick, and it was great to see Simone from the Casey Cardinia Pride Inc. there. And I ran into Councillor Ross from Casey Council, a different Councillor Ross. I attended the first meeting for the Cardinia CAN Advisory Group, working to prevent domestic violence with our Lord Mayor as well. And learnt some terrifying statistics about domestic violence, but we are going to definitely work towards stamping it out. And it was a privilege recently to meet the Gender Equality Commissioner, Dr. Nikki Vincent, along with fellow councillors, CEO and Mayor, to discuss Gender Equality Act, action plans, impact assessments and key insights from the 2023 progress works. It was amazing. She was very inspiring. So yeah, that's about it for now.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Roberts, would you like to, just to make sure I haven't missed you, would you like to offer a report at all? You don't have to.
I just did want to say thank you to the staff, council staff, for supplying agendas and print for me while I've been injured and not able to attend tonight's meeting in person. And I particularly wanted to note that I've been attending as much as I can of the briefings and presentations that have been held online, and I thank the staff for making that possible for me. I particularly enjoyed meeting online with the Public Sector Gender Equality Commissioner, Dr. Nikki Vincent. It gave me a chance to reflect on how much local government has changed over the more than 20 years I've had some association with the sector. When I first started as a local government officer, the chances of me sitting in a room with a female CEO were very small, and that's no longer the case. And I also, worked for councils where there was only often one female councillor around the table, and we're in a position at the moment where we nearly have 50-50 around our council table. So it's really important I think it's her visiting. It was an opportunity for us to reflect on how the organisation can continue to work on opportunities and look at things through look at what council does through the gender lens, and what opportunities there are for women and non-binary people to contribute to our local community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any other councillors who would like to offer a report? There's only one left.
Thank you, Mayor. It'd probably be a bit out of place if I didn't say anything. So I find this a bit embarrassing. But anyway, amidst the various things I've had the privilege to be involved in over the last couple of months, several items have already been mentioned in the course of tonight, but I'd also like to call out the Australia Day Awards as well, because there was a bit of a hills party down at the Cardinia Cultural Centre, and a lot of people from the northern part of the Shire were nominees or award winners on the night, and it was great to see that small gathering of hills folk there. And that was then backed up by the Australia Day ceremony that Connecting Cockatoo Communities Incorporated runs annually in Cockatoo, and more localised awards for Cockatoo folk who doing the extra yards of volunteering in their own community. And a couple of the people who were down here were also up there receiving awards. And so thanks for mentioning that as well, Councillor Owen. I'd also just wanted to flag that one of the items from tonight's agenda, I was very privileged to be invited to participate in the opening of the announcement of the completion of the energy resilience projects for the community halls in Cockatoo and Gembrook. and also for the Hills Hub in Emerald that was held in the Cockatoo Community Centre. And I'd like to thank the Mayor and the CEO and then the staff who came up to that event and also worked very hard with the state government on that project. Resilience, energy resilience has been a significant issue in the Hills part of the Shire over several events in the last few years, and these hubs that will have the ability to run independently in extended power outages are critically important to many members of the community and will be greatly appreciated. So it was a privilege to be at that event with the Minister and participate in that opening. And lo and behold, tonight, hot off the press, dated 17th of February, 2025, I'm absolutely delighted to announce I've been involved in this group. They're a subcommittee of the Gembrook Community Group who've actually presented to us tonight a road sealing submission. So it's quite topical for tonight's topic agenda, just coincidentally, but it's a big issue in our end of the Shire, and so this submission is gratefully received, and I'm sure myself and possibly the Mayor will circulate that to all of us to have a read of, and our staff can incorporate it into road sealing planning. So I'd like to thank the delegate who's done the run off the hill. Thanks very much, Gary, for dropping that off. It's well received, and it's been a privilege to be involved in that group as you've spent your hours tussling with this issue and providing your own sort of local perspective and making it available for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. Thank you, councillors, for your contributions to that. So we'll move on now. I think all councillors have had a chance to contribute to council reports. So the next item we will go into is councillor questions. So there are councillor questions from Councillor Brett Owen. Councillor Owen, can you please read your questions and Peter Benezik will provide answers to them. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Major projects report. The previous council raised concern regarding the content of the major projects report and asked senior management to improve the major projects agenda item in the general council meetings. Major project report should provide residents with a detailed, most up-to-date summary of major projects. Major project report last appeared in the council agenda in August 2024. Can the General Manager please provide an update on how the major projects report will be improved, and when is the major works report expected to return to the council agenda, and will the council website be regularly updated to reflect the content that is contained in the major projects report?
Through you, Mayor. Thanks for your question, Councillor Owen. As was previously mentioned in one of the earlier questions, the major projects report has been under review. There's a number of improvements that councillors will see in terms of the quality of the narrative and the status of the updates. There'll be greater information about cost and timing, and the report will have graphical indicators in it to show tracking against budgets and timeframes. The report will be provided at the March meeting and then obviously loaded into the council portals.
Thank you, General Manager. I look forward to that coming in March. Next question relates to Huxtable and Bessie Creek roads. Bessie Creek Road and Huxtable Road has been earmarked to be sealed as part of the Council Sealing Strategic Roads Program. Can the General Manager please provide a detailed update of the current budget allocations and what is the expected construction timelines for these two roads?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for your question. I can report that there is funding available in the 24-25 financial years and the 25-26 financial years. The 24-25 stage 1 of Bessie Creek Road will be completed from Mount Irene Road to Halifax Road. Tenders are being prepared to seek tender submissions with an anticipated construction timeframe to commence in April 2025, the sealing season. And Stage 2 in 25, 26, 3.1 kilometres, Halifax Road intersection to Gembrick Road, and landslip works to be scheduled to be completed along that section as well, with sealing works proposed in February to April of 2026. In relation to Huxtable Road, funding is available in the financial 25-26 period. Sealing works are proposed to start in November and anticipated to complete in May, but works are underway to see what can be truncated and brought forward.
Thank you, General Manager, for the update. And the final questions regards Starling Road Officer. The northern section of Starling Road Officer is currently being constructed by a budding developer contractors. Councillors have been contacted by many residents who are concerned about the width of the road carriageway. Can I ask, what is the width of the proposed new carriageway? Is this road width compliant for the road status that is detailed in the officer structure plan? And will the section of Starling Road allow for 2 large vehicles or trucks to pass each other in both directions?
Through you, Mayor. Thanks for your question, Councillor Owen. Council's development team are looking into the issue raised by residents related to the northern section of Starling Road. These investigations are ongoing and include reference to requirements outlined in the precinct structure plan, the design plan reviews and on-site assessment. Initial assessment is that the northern section of Starling Road Officer is 6 metres wide, including the trafficable tray of the curb, in line with the requirements within the PSP. The road has been designed for vehicle traffic in that tray of the curb and was designed to access as an access street level 2 road. This is what's being constructed as per the PSP requirements. There is ongoing investigations into if there are any other options to respond to community concerns at this location. These investigations are ongoing.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for your councillor questions. All right, we'll go into the mayoral minute. And the first thing I want to touch on, it was touched on before, but I guess the forming of the council plan and just acknowledging and thanking those members of the community panel. There's been 3, I think, sessions so far. I think I've attended 2. A couple of other councillors have mentioned that they've attended these sessions as observers, and it's been fantastic to see the types of issues that individuals from our community who are representing themselves but also get to operate as mini councillors and put on their community representative hat. The questions they've been asking have been fantastic. And as Councillor Pomeroy said, I do think it's going to provide this council with a fantastic platform moving forward to understand what the priorities are outside of individual wards and for the Shire as a whole, because we remember, although we are elected from individual sections of the community, once you become a councillor, you are told to put that away and become a councillor for the whole of the Shire. And I think that's going to be really, really paramount to our community vision as well. Federal election advocacy is the next thing I want to touch on. Now, obviously, tonight we endorsed our some advocacy priorities for the upcoming federal election. Again, I just want to say, I know there was a little bit of debate in that, which is good. That's fine. As Mayor, I do think I focus a lot of time on being a representative for the whole Shire, and I'm really glad Gary's here tonight with his presentation on behalf of his group. And I know that, you know, Bunyip Ward and Western Port Ward and Beacon Hills Ward and those wards in the growth corridor too, they all have so many needs. And I don't think it's right to say that any one need is ahead of any other. For example, you know, our council spends more than 30% of its budget on roads. You know, we know it's a key priority, but I don't think we should ever get to the point where roads is elevated to such a point that all growth area things are squashed out. You know, growth area residents are residents too. And we know that 80% of our residents and our rate base comes from those areas. So as a democratic institution, we have to make sure we're representing everyone equally. So I was glad to see those priority projects that we've put up as part of our advocacy, I think, encompass the whole Shire, or at least a representative of it. We've got Cardinia Life in the heart of Pakenham there, which is a massive one for us and has been for a long time. We've got the Lang Lang Sand truck bypass. We've got the Princess Highway intersections. And what else do we have? Of course, emergency ready roads after sealing the hills was ripped from our hills community. We know how vital that is. So you can see already from council's perspective, we're trying to cover everyone from a geographical perspective as well. you will see us start to ramp up our advocacy moving forward. And Councillor Owen touched on it. We will be inviting the community to engage with us on this. We know that majority of our community is represented by the federal seat of Latrobe, which at the moment is a very safe Liberal seat. So we're looking forward to engaging with the candidates from the other political parties as well. We're going to be doing some social media advocacy and some community stuff as well. So please, if the call goes out there, or if you're asked to contribute, please consider doing so. We only get these opportunities once every 3 years. The feds have the deepest pockets, as we know, and we're certainly going to be trying really, really hard to make sure that our community, I guess, gets the funding it deserves. I think the growth comments from before are fair up to a point, in that Cardinia Shire has shouldered a lot of growth, and it's only right that we see the infrastructure to support our community. Yeah, it's been touched on, but I think it is pretty cool that we did have Dr. Nikki Vincent, the Commissioner of Gender Equality for the Public Sector, come out and visit us. International Women's Day is on the horizon, so I just wanted to touch on that. She had a lot of important messages, touched on some very insightful and horrible statistics a little bit from 2023, and the gender equality progress audits, and that's a big focus for council as an organisation, to making sure they're putting a gender lens over everything that we do. So obviously Thursday the 6th of March is when we're celebrating International Women's Day at the Cultural Centre. So please go to the Cultural Centre's website if you want to come along, get involved in that. There'll be details on that there. Our reconciliation action plan. So we're seeking community input into our third reconciliation action plan that outlines how we're going to build on reconciliation across the Shire. Cardinia Shire has a growing Indigenous population, and so we want to make sure that we're engaging with them correctly, and we are walking towards reconciliation with them. I believe we're over 1,100 in our most recent stats, Indigenous population within our Shire, which has grown from around 700. So we want to gather an understanding of how we can support First Nations communities across a range of areas. So if you want to get involved with that, please go to our website and engage with us on that. And the last thing I want to touch on, it's probably not particularly relevant for those of you who come to the meeting, because we thank you very much for your interest in democracy and for taking the time to show up to the gallery. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to be doing my first trial of a 1 to 2 minute recap video on what happens in these chambers. So often we hear from the public that councillors only attend openings of things and are only there to cut ribbons. I'd like to bring a little bit of the governance that you witness with your very eyes to people. So if you have any feedback for the video tomorrow, please let me know. It's probably not going to be, very interesting for everyone, but I think it's important that we be as transparent as possible and make sure we bring the chamber to as many people as possible. So that now concludes the mayoral minute and the substantial and public portion of tonight's meeting. I'm now going to seek a mover and seconder to close the meeting to the public to allow council to consider confidential business. We're also going to take an adjournment of 10 minutes as well to allow the gallery to leave, to allow us to have a break and to engage and say goodbye. So the meeting will be closed to the public pursuant to section 66(5)(a) and (b) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following confidential information, which is one, per section 3(1)(f) of the confidential agenda item 3.1 of the CEO Performance Plan 24-25, designated as personal information. A, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs. Or B, the grounds for designation have been made to protect the privacy of the CEO's personal information. So can I have a mover to close the meeting to the public, please? Councillor Pomeroy, a seconder. Councillor Ross. We're now going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. So that concludes the public part of the council meeting. Thank you for your attendance. At the end of the confidential business, the meeting will be reopened in order to formally close proceedings. So that's it for tonight. The next council meeting will be on the 17th of March 2025 at